Our main speaker today is Clint Pustejovsky. He has a BS in Communications from the University of Houston. He's studied and worked with Texas snakes for over 40 years and has written several snake identification guides for the various regions of Texas. He has conducted safety training for many cities and counties and has given safety talks to large companies, including Shell, ExxonMobil, and Schlumberger, as well as many others. So without any further ado, please help me welcome to the front, Clint Pustejovsky. Hopefully.
We are taught that if snakes have a triangular head, elliptical eyes, heat-sensing pits, that baby venomous snakes are way more dangerous than adult venomous snakes because they can't control their venom. Those little ones just have no control over it, and the venom's stronger. And red and yellow kill a fella, red and black, friend of Jack, don't jump back, something like that. Okay, let's get real here. Myth, yeah, I like the best myth. Triangular head does not determine venomous in the least little way at all. I can show you common water snakes that live right here that have a much more triangular head than rattlesnakes that live in Texas, not here, but in Texas. Elliptical eyes, I can show you pet snakes with elliptical eyes, Texas snakes with elliptical eyes, and now let's get real. Do you know how close you have to get to a snake to see if its eye pupil is round or elliptical? Thank you, yes, too close. Okay, and then baby venomous snakes. If you're gonna get bit by, has anybody been bit by a venomous snake? That's crazy, I usually have one in the audience. Okay, come close. The bottom line is, if you're gonna get bit by a venomous snake and you get to choose, I want a copperhead that was born about 3 weeks ago. Little tiny baby, they have hardly no venom. I'll go home from the hospital that night. An adult this size over here, I'll probably be in the hospital for 3 days. We'll talk about what hospital you want to go to and don't want to go to. No offense if you're a physician at some of the hospital that I don't mention. Oh, and I don't have the elliptical pits. I mean not elliptical pits, that's crazy. The heat sensing pits. Then the pit vipers do have heat-sensing pits. You can't see them when you're standing up. It's a little hole right here. That's not a good identifier. It's just, that is a fact, though. That's the one thing that's not a myth. That's why it's not on the busters. Okay, so here in Texas, we have 10 rattlesnakes, 3 copperheads, basically. 2 of them are banded, and 1 has Hershey Kisses on it. Then we have the Cottonmouth, also called a water moccasin. If you call them water moccasins, you'll never hear me correct you because I do it all the time. So why would I correct somebody? And then the coral snake, making up 15 species, subspecies, 15 venomous snakes here in the state of Texas. Guess what? No 15 live in any one county. I believe El Paso County has 8, and that's very far west of here. But that's it. Here in Houston, we have 3. You go to Montgomery County, they have 5. It varies on where you live. We have no county in Texas without venomous snakes. That's a fact. Okay, so our pit vipers are a rattlesnake or copperhead and our cottonmouth. All that means they can see 2 different ways. The heat-sensing pit gives them an outline. Their eyes help them see. That's why a rattlesnake that lives on Galveston Island can strike 100 miles an hour and hit its prey while it's on the run because of the heat-sensing pits and the eyes being able to see simultaneously. The coral snake, they should be non-venomous. I mean, they're basically harmless. You got to be a real idiot. Wait, you have to be really unsmart to get bit by one. And that is, you have to pick them up. Or maybe stand on one barefooted and it might eventually bite you. But nobody in this room knows anybody who's died from a coral snake. Yeah, dig in your brain because you don't. Not here in Texas at least. And that is how it works. If we were in Arizona, west of here, You get bit by a coral snake, they give you a tetanus shot and tell you to go home. Not because you need a tetanus shot if you're bit by a snake, it's because most people need tetanus shots. So they send you home. Here in Texas, we'll watch you for 12 to 24 hours. Over in Florida, you'll get anti-venom. So what am I saying? The venom gets stronger as you go east. So here's the famous pose of the diamondback rattlesnake, and yes, they're all over Surfside and Galveston. If I needed one today, I could eat, well, I've been twice, and I have not found that's why I don't have one. I need a diamondback rattlesnake right now. But anyway, that's right here. That's their pose. They can be stretched out. This is what they look like, and they can strike from a stretched out position. When they're in this position, they can strike high, up above your knee if it's over 4 foot. They can strike 3/4 the length of their body at 100 miles an hour. I don't care how good you are in your martial arts, I don't think you can move in time. How about rattlesnakes in trees? You know, there's a reason they call them a timber rattlesnake. They like timber. They live in the woods. They're found Colorado County, they're Lavaca County, Montgomery County, all around here. They're not right here. They were in Houston and Harris County at one time. I was a little kid back then. Long, long time ago. These are really neat snakes. They're pretty docile. They have a nasty venom, so if you get bit, it's very serious. This is what they look like. I was trying to get this one to get in the rattlesnake pose, but it just kind of sit there and said, take my picture and leave me alone. I mean, I'm not saying pick one up. Please don't. They're venomous, and they can bite. And generally, when we have a death in Texas, we rarely have deaths. It's usually the snake. This is one of the ones that's a bad one. It's a bad bite. So, and here's our copperhead. You can see that this is a broad-banded one, and they always have kind of a clown mask around their eyes. Around their face. Their eyes are very obvious. They're flat on top of their head like the cottonmouth. They're an Echistrodon, and the cottonmouth is an Echistrodon. They're in that same genus. Here's what we will talk about, because this is what you see in the Houston area. This was in Kingwood, in the Kingwood Forest. I was actually stepping on a copperhead when I took the photo of this one. That's called tunnel vision. I saw the look I was looking for, the stretched out snake. I kneeled down. Literally, if y'all can see me, I kneeled down like this. And you can tell it's a low shot. And my buddy that's standing next to me goes, Clint, your foot's on a copperhead. Was not practicing what I preach. Always look before you step. Always. Always in your own backyard, everywhere. So I did get the shot I want, and if I would have had on different shoes, I would have been bit. My mistake. They like cicadas. How many of you hear cicadas in your trees? Locusts, people call them locusts, but they're cicadas. This is their favorite food. This was taken at night. Notice how that pupil's not as elliptical as the one before it. Look at that. Now look at that. Yes, they expand just like our pupils. Then the cottonmouth. We'll spend a little bit of time on this one. This is a tricky snake to identify. Then the coral snake, cute little rhymes, that's about it. And I'll show you one of the things that I don't like. Take a look at this coral snake. This was over in Cypress area. And you can see that its aberrant pattern makes it not look so much like the coral snake, right? Well, it's also a snake that's likely to be albino, missing the color black. So it's going to have, everywhere there's black, it's going to be kind of a whitish, yellowish color. It's also the snake that's most likely to be melanistic, solid black. It's also the snake to have a messed up pattern like this. Out of all our 120 snakes in Texas, this is the one that wins the prize for having the different looks, and people are going off of a cute rhyme. Don't use it, please. Learn the shape of their head. We'll talk about that in a second. Oh, when people say they have to bite loose areas, loose skin, earlobes, between your fingers, they bite whatever they want. Their mouth opens to about a 180. You ought to see one yawn. This is my thumb. He's not biting through it. These are welding gloves. They're very thick. But it just shows you how they bite. They don't hesitate. Okay, is this snake venomous or not? How about this one? See, that's a toad sticking out of its mouth. This one. How about this one? I'll go back real quick. This is a diamondback water snake, completely harmless. Well, I mean, it bites. It's got a mouth. This is an eastern hognose. The ones I was holding up by my face earlier, they come in any color. That's why I like them. This is a plain belly water snake, also called a blotched water snake in the old days, and completely non-venomous. This is another plain belly water snake. People say their head is always above water, they're venomous. Not a true statement. Cottonmouths swim underwater, they swim on top of the water. Water snakes swim on top of the water, they swim under the water. The one animal I have not seen that's venomous swim underwater is a group of rattlesnakes, but I'm sure they can. If I saw one dive under, it would not surprise me. But the timbers, the diamondbacks, and the black-tailed rattlesnakes I've seen swimming, they were all on top of the water. But that's just my experience. I would not go off of that at all. Here is the famous pose of the rat snake. Notice its white chin. These guys are everywhere. They're probably in this building. They can climb whatever they want. They love, us humans cut down trees, right? And then we build houses and buildings, right? Then we put insulation in the buildings. They love insulation. It keeps them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. They just love that stuff. They'll lay their eggs over on the west side so they incubate really well. Rat snakes love us. We did them good. They get about 7 feet long. They like rats. They also like birds, eggs, many other things in their diet. Here's a pose of a bull snake on the left and a diamondback rattlesnake on the right. A rattlesnake does not always have a rattle. Why? They break. Their tail can be injured from an attack from an animal or run over by a vehicle. These are things that could not be too good. Okay, now let's talk about this coral snake for a minute. Notice the milk snake. This is Louisiana milk snake or western milk snake. They technically don't live here, but they're here. They're in Harris County for sure. Coral snakes are more common. Pointed head, rounded head. If you look, the coral snake is blunted on top, and it almost looks like you put a horseshoe over it as a mold to make its head. And then the non-venomous milk snake, the mimic, has a pointed head. This is what you want to go off of because that snake is a nice shiny black and it has this shaped head. It's venomous. It is a coral snake. And you're told that we have no solid black venomous snakes. Let's go off of what we can learn. Okay, back to the not so elliptical eyes. That's just another rattlesnake. That was in Arizona. It backed into a cave. It looks like a macro shot. It was really a telephoto lens. We were about 8 feet away. But you can look at the, clearly not elliptical. Okay, now we're going to talk about my puppy. I really like cottonmouths. They're neat. They eat anything, literally, insects, snakes, turtles, lizards, mice, rats, anything. They're cool. They're really neat snakes. Very misunderstood. Okay, so take a quick look. Eyes up high, vertical lines on the mouth. Eyes down low, horizontal lines on the top of the head. That is the big difference between common water snake on the left and the venomous cottonmouth on the right. These are the easy things to remember. Here's another look. You can see the big eye. See, water snakes, the water snakes that we have in this area, we have 4, they are sight eaters. That means they have to see really good. And so these sight eaters are catching tadpoles and catfish and other animals in the water, and our water's not crystal clear. It's not like we have limestone crystal clear water around here. So these animals see very well, these not so well. Cottonmouths do not have great vision. They count on their heat sensing pits and the vision they have. I think that's why they eat anything. If it moves, they eat it. Here is their main look, their MO. They sit there with their mouth open, wagging their tail. They're just crazy snakes. When I was a kid, people would say, Clint, those cottonmouths are aggressive. I go, no, they're not. Yeah, they are. No, they're not. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, the thing I love today, because what do we have everywhere? Statistics. Cottonmouths make up between 2 and 4% of the bites. If they were aggressive like my grandpa, my dad, my scoutmaster, my neighbors, people I went hunting with and fishing with, if they were aggressive like all those people told me, it'd be something like 95%, not maximum of 4 or 5. I mean, it's crazy. So here's another look. Mouth open, and if you start noticing different patterns on these guys, they're a variably marked species. They are not a standard marked species like you'll see on the Copperhead, which is also in their genus. Okay, this is what I really want to talk about. This works on pretty much the Echistrodon, your cottonmouth and your Copperhead that we have in the area. The 90 degree I'm talking about is flat on top of the head here. I'm trying to get where everybody can see. Flat here, dropping off to a 90 degree, right there across the nose. We have no non-venomous snake that does that. It's flat on top, drops off to a 90 degree on the front of the nose. You can see it 10 feet away. You don't have to be right up on it. I don't want you right up on it. So take a look at that and you'll see, and you can see how well marked this one is. This is another well marked cottonmouth. The ridge going along the top, they have like a raccoon mask here. Their eye is hard to see, and like a bird of prey, they have a little visor over their eye. All of our pit vipers have a little visor over their eye. That also is another little indicator. So I'll describe it real quick. It's 3 different cottonmouths, and what they're doing is this. The first one is wagging its tail. That's what they do. They open their mouth and vibrate their tails, and the closer we got the camera to it, it takes off. That's what they do. They try to get away from you. The next one is camouflaged in the water with its mouth open, wagging its tail, and the last one is looking at the camera, and then it takes off. And that's what I generally find. My next video is I'm working on it, I haven't got it yet, and that's one diving under the water and swimming, where you can see it swimming under the water. The water has to be pretty clear. Okay, so if a snake is a baby, we're talking 5 inches long, and it's got a yellow tip tail, that is a pit viper. Yellowish green tip tail, looks like a little lure, that's a pit viper. So you can see it on these snakes. This is what happens with our venomous snakes. This is old, but it's still true today, and that is the peak of when you see snakes is starting in March to October. And what we're in right now is babies. The babies are born in August, September, sometimes late October, but almost always in August. That's when most of the babies are born. The pit vipers have live litters. They do not lay eggs. The coral snake lays eggs. Many snakes lay eggs. Many snakes have live birth. All the water snakes have live birth. So it gives you an idea when snakes are moving. So January, February, November, December, we don't see too many snakes. If I'm looking for them, I'll find copperheads. Copperheads are the one snake I can find in the winter. Here's another look. Notice the eyes. Look at this guy here. That is crazy when you look at this snake, and you can see how triangular that head is. And this is just a common diamondback water snake. It's our largest water snake in the area. They're very common. They're all over the place. They have a giant range throughout Texas. Here's the hognose, spreading its head like a cobra, acting mean and menacing, and they're harmless. Here is a common garter snake. Notice 3 stripes, one on the center of the back, one on the inside, one on the outside. If you see a snake with stripes going from head to tail anywhere in the United States, it's non-venomous. So 3 stripes, 2 stripes, a lined snake going from head to tail, non-venomous. Do not use this in Australia, but this is absolutely a fact here. These are little snakes. They're common. These are your friends. If you're a gardener, these guys eat slugs. Slugs eat your plants. They eat termites. Termites eat your buildings. And they eat earthworms. Earthworms can be good, but they eat earthworms, slugs, and termites for most of their diet. Here's an example of a baby copperhead. You see the yellow tip tail, and then 2 adult brown snakes or decade snakes. So if you see a snake and it has vertical stripes on its mouth, it's non-venomous. If you see a snake that has eyes that are easily seen, flattens its head like a cobra, and has stripes going down from head to tail, non-venomous. On the other side of that, horizontal lines like a raccoon mask, eyes that are difficult to see, thick triangular head, wide open mouth, 90 degrees. I should have it on this line, shouldn't I? 90 degree on top of the head going across the nose. Here's one that's just sitting there. Notice this snake, it has cataracts. That happens to snakes too. This isn't a snake in blue that's going to shed its skin. This is the snake this is an old snake in the wild, a water snake that has cataracts. Here's just a big old water snake. Here's the cottonmouth just sitting there. Notice those light colors on the face. Isn't that crazy? Variably marked snake. Here's the hognose, again, a different colored one. Here's one just sitting there. You can always leave them alone. Use a stream of water to get snakes to go away. Works pretty good. I'm going to go through this stuff really, really fast. Don't try to harm them or hurt them. That's when they bite. Take a photo if you can. In the entire U.S., we rarely have 10 deaths. Here in Texas, we have 0 to 3. Rarely do we have, I can't think of a time we've had over 3 deaths in a year. And that's usually people like me, people that handle them and work with them. It's usually not the gardener or the avid hiker, these kind of people. It's usually somebody's messing with a snake and it bites them, it gives more venom, and it's not pretty. Okay, these are just some common envenomation signs. I'm going to let you kind of look over those quickly because I'm going to run out of time here. Who's my timekeeper? Do I have a timekeeper? Okay, I need to wrap up. 5 minutes? Okay, thank you. Extremely rare because we don't know anybody. It's different. Coral snake bites, they're usually treating the pain. That's usually pain management more than it is anti-venom here in Texas. It's a very painful bite. I still am trying to comprehend why their venom is so much more painful than, say, a copperhead's. Your red blood cells are exploding and it's a completely different breakdown of tissue. We're going to go over Envenomation real quick. This guy here, this is Mel, or that's his hand. This is somebody I personally know, and he was bit not here in Texas, northern Pacific rattlesnake in California. He almost died. This was a very serious situation. You can see how poorly this looks, and just horrible. He received over 67 vials of antivenom. The 3rd doctor that he went to was Dr. Sean Bush. If any of y'all are old enough to remember Venom ER with a ponytail doctor, okay, that's Sean Bush. He is one of the top snake bite experts in the world, especially here in the U.S., and he helps people all over the world. Well, if it wasn't for Mel getting to Sean, I'm pretty sure Mel wouldn't have made it. It was a very serious bite, and even today, he doesn't have full use of that thumb. But it's still there. I mean, it's amazing he didn't lose it. So these are the things we don't know. How deep do the fangs go? Nope. Volume of venom injected? Nope. Complexity of toxins? Many times you don't even know the species of snake. So, oh, by the way, if you're bit by a venomous snake, species does not matter. A snake bite expert does not care what species bit you. He or she is not treating the snake. They're treating you. That's what matters. If I don't say it, HCA Kingwood is the only hospital we can go to. Unfortunately, it's the only place we have a snake bite expert. If I was in Austin, I'd have to come down to Kingwood as long as I was stable enough to come down to Kingwood. So if you're not stable, you got to go to the closest emergency clinic to get stabilized and then go to HCA Kingwood where you can be treated by somebody like Sean Bush. But his name's Dr. Spencer Green, and that's who you want treating you or your loved ones or people you know heck, people you hate. Hopefully you don't hate anybody. But, you know, even somebody that's annoying to you, get them to HCA Kingwood. Okay, this is just stuff you do. Don't take anything by mouth. Oh, this is an old slide. Maybe that's why the video didn't work. Anyway, this right here, you want that up in the air too. The rattlesnake, this was 3 years ago. That's how much stuff changes, guys. 3 years ago, I was saying put the hand at level with the heart. Now you put it way up. If it's your foot, lay down and get it up in the air. You do not want that venom to pool in one place and cause an amputation. You want it to move. Don't take a picture, send it to me, send it to somebody. There's Facebook pages now that have great identification pages. Southeast Texas is a great place to look. No tourniquet, no ice, no incision or suction, no snake bite kit, in other words. No alcohol, no caffeine. Sometimes that's already happened. I already had my cup of joe this morning. No anti-inflammatories, aspirin, anything that thins the blood. That you want that out of your system, but a good snake bite specialist will take care of that for you. Okay, this right here is the antivenom that you will most likely receive in the Houston area. It's called Crofab. We have 2 antivenoms today, and it costs between $2,000 and $10,000 a vial. The average bite's going to need between 6 and 12. Do the math. Hopefully you have good insurance. It's made with Western Diamondback, Eastern Diamondback, the Mojave rattlesnake, and then the Cottonmouth. So that's what makes up the Crofab antivenom. They inject it into sheep, and that gets us our serum that they turn into an antivenom. It's dry powder. It's constituted with saline, and then they inject it into the IV. And so the IV goes to us, and it dilutes the venom. Antivip is the second one that was approved 2 years ago now. There was a trial base 3 years ago, so it's been around for 3 years. This is mostly a rattlesnake. It was made for rattlesnakes. I want to know what it does on the timber rattlesnake. There's not enough. There's only one bite that I know of that's been treated for it. So, okay, this is your snake bite kit. Transportation, 911, go to HCA Kingwood. These are the snakes that like us, that go where we are. This is a rat snake stealing some eggs from a chicken. Here's another rat snake pose. I think I used that one earlier. They can climb whatever they want. They could climb this building, I promise you. Hognose, they're everywhere. Oh, no, that's some pretty one. That top left is real pretty. Common water snakes, speckled king snakes. They love to eat other snakes. That's the logo of my company. I love speckled king snakes. So is this one eating a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake? Thank you. Yes. Here is a rattlesnake being eaten by a speckled king snake on Galveston Island. Yeah, the rattlesnake was looking for some rats to eat, and the king snake was looking for a snake to eat. I think the king snake got a rat and a rattlesnake. Here is a coral snake eating a copperhead over here in Colorado County in Weimar area. That's a big coral snake. It's about 40 inches long, eating an adult copperhead. You want to keep snakes away? This is it. Cedar oil, cedar granules, cedar mulch. Next spring, when you start mulching, use cedar. I personally like eyelash vipers, gaboon vipers. I love king cobras. They're fascinating. They're sight eaters. They're like a racer. Love them. I would never own one. Why? My building could get hit by a tornado. Those animals are now loose, like what you described. And if y'all remember the king cobra in Needville that got loose a few years back, and that I was one of the fortunate ones that caught it. Andy Maddox and I caught that snake and bagged it, and nobody was injured or hurt. But that was a 9-foot king cobra loose in Needville, Texas. So that does happen. Any other questions?
Of all the venomous snakes that you've come across, are there any out there, native or otherwise in the world, that you fear personally, that you don't want to ever come across?
That's a funny question, and I don't know. It's in my DNA, I think, to answer your question. As truthful, I've never seen a snake I'm scared of. I know that I have two legs, they have none. I can get away from even the fastest, what would be our fastest venomous snake? It'd be one of the mambas. And so it's, you know, when I've milked mambas, and when they've gotten off the table and gotten loose, they go into a corner and hide their head under their body. You know, we're giants, we're monsters to even the largest venomous snake, and that'd be the eastern diamondback here in the U.S. And even eastern diamondbacks, when I've tried to photograph them, they're trying to get away from me. So now, what I've found with most animals, yeah, I've walked up on black bear and scared, you know, it had a cub, so it scared me because I didn't want, you know, I'd protect my cub if I was a big animal. Well, the black bear and the cub were running away from me as I was running away from them. I mean, we were both scared of each other. So I have run up on animals that have startled me. A black bear was one, and another one was a great horned owl. That might be the worst fear I've ever had. Question is, what part of town would be the best neighborhood to live in where you wouldn't see snakes? I think I'm rephrasing that pretty well, correct? Okay. A brand new neighborhood that has brand new houses and little tiny trees this tall, and it's huge. And there's no lakes, no man-made or natural lakes or waterways anywhere nearby. That would be your best bet, which I don't think is going to happen. But that would be your best bet. We rarely see copperheads in places where there's not trees. The one venomous snake that we'll see in new neighborhoods is coral snakes. They're the least dangerous of all of our venomous snakes. Cottonmouths are going to always be where there's food, but they don't like big things. You don't see them around cows. You don't see them around humans. They're off to themselves. I can find cottonmouths all day long, but I go out in the middle of nowhere, creeks, and really slow-moving water that has pools in it because they like pools. They're not going to be along rivers. Water snakes will be along rivers because they can see good. Cottonmouths cannot. Did I answer your question? Okay. Yes. Oh, over here.
Sorry. Every year in Sweetwater, they have the rattlesnake roundup. I'm sure you're aware of it. Where they kill thousands of rattlesnakes. They milk them. They have children, you know, covered in blood. You know, you can eat them. What do you think about all that?
Wow, that would be a whole talk, and I do have a talk on that. I'm totally opposed to it. I am opposed to it for many reasons. I cannot prove that the venom that they're taking is not given to some lab. None of the labs that I work with have ever received venom from them, and they have destroyed the venom, in my opinion, as soon as they mix two snakes together. And that's what they do. I've seen the videos. I've been kicked out of there once. That was years ago because you don't question them, and they made me leave. But if we were to take, I don't know, raccoons. Raccoons are not friendly animals, and they can do damage, right? I mean, I like them. I think they're adorable. But anyway, if we took raccoons, chopped their heads off, and put people's kids' hands in their blood and put prints on the wall, I think people would get upset. And a raccoon is you know, it's not like a possum. Possums are not aggressive animals. But I've been bit by raccoons, that's what I'm trying to say. So I know, I wouldn't kill one. I trap them and take them away if I need one removed, but I would never kill a I don't kill animals, period, if I can get away with it. I'm lying. I didn't mean to lie. I do kill red wasp and ants. Yellow jackets don't bother me as much. Red wasp, they hurt. Okay, there was a question over here, yes.
Yeah, we have one more question. Because of time, this is going to be our
Right,
last question.
I think I've gone way over.
Yeah, to what degree are snakes like keystone predators? I mean, are there ecosystems where they're that important?
I'm not sure I understood the question or heard it.
To what degree are snakes keystone predators? Are there ecosystems where they're a keystone predator? Like if you take them out of the ecosystem, like if man kills them all, for instance, then the ecosystem changes completely?
Okay. Does the ecosystem change? Yes. New York City. Anybody visited there? You go out at night, you'll see rats. It's a fact. It's been over 50 years since the black rat snake was found in New York City. They eradicated the black rat snake, who also came out at night, eating what? The rats. So that's one thing. Your question goes back to the rattlesnake roundup. I have access to a property in Nolan County where Sweetwater is, and this ranch it's about a 6,000 acre ranch. And I've been able to stay out there anytime I want for years. I've never seen a rattlesnake on the ranch. I have seen Texas horn lizards, which is pretty cool to me, but no rattlesnakes. I finally talked with the guy that actually owns the ranch, and for 20 years he had people coming up taking rattlesnakes for the roundup, which was very close by. But guess what you see when you go out at night? If you have a Cyclops headlight on, you will see rats running in droves. It's almost scary because there's so many of them. They're not inside the ranch house, but they're everywhere outside. You literally, if you ran fast enough, you would fall on them. You would fall on the rats. So I believe 40 years ago, they didn't have a rat problem. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But that's something, it does change the ecosystem. Whenever you take anything out of the ecosystem, trees, it's going to change. You take water, redirect water, et cetera. Yes, that's a bad thing. In my opinion, that's all my opinion, guys.
Well, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
Absolutely loved everything.